Ripple is making a bold move that every XRP holder needs to understand. The company has begun buying back between 3 and 5% of its own equity at roughly $75 per share, committing more than $700 million to the program. A buyback on that scale signals one thing. Ripple's leadership is convinced its long-term valuation is still far below where it should be. Companies only repurchase stock when they believe future gains will outpace any other use of cash. In other words, Ripple is betting on itself, and by extension on XRP's utility inside the next generation of global payments. The news lands as XRP posts a 7% rebound, changing hands near $2.31. Broader crypto is bouncing with it. Bitcoin has climbed to 108,000 and Ethereum is steady around 2,600. Altcoins are also firming as traders rotate back into risk after last week's panic. Volume tells the story. XRP turnover has surged 48% in 24 hours, proof that fresh capital is flowing back toward the ledger right when Ripple is tightening share supply on the private side. Geopolitics, however, still hangs over every trade. Iran's military says it is preparing the largest missile strike in its history against Israeli targets. Markets hate uncertainty, and each headline from the Middle East has triggered violent swings across equities, commodities, and digital assets. Yet history shows that once the initial shock fades, money rotates into assets with real-world utility. XRP's role as an instantaneous bridge for cross-border liquidity remains unchanged by regional conflict. Infrastructure keeps building even when sentiment turns fearful. Macro policy is another layer of tension. The U.S. Federal Reserve's rate-setting committee meets on Wednesday, and prediction markets give a 97% probability that there will be no rate cut. Holding rates high preserves dollar strength, but also keeps funding costs elevated for businesses and consumers. Every month that borrowing stays expensive, traditional payment rails feel more pain, and the incentive to migrate toward cheaper blockchain settlement grows. XRP's value proposition improves each time legacy fees pinch the banking system. Regulation keeps tilting in crypto's favor as well. Vietnam has just passed legislation that formally recognizes cryptocurrencies, giving banks a framework to incorporate assets like XRP for real-time settlement. Meanwhile, the European Commission signaled it could accept a flat 10% U.S. tariff under clear conditions, an incremental step toward easing transatlantic trade friction. Less geopolitical risk and clearer legal guidelines are the twin catalyst digital assets have been waiting for. Back to the buyback. Ripple last changed hands on secondary markets near $74 per share. Offering $75 represents a premium and effectively removes supply that might have reached outside investors later. By shrinking the float, Ripple also tightens indirect exposure to XRP's success. When the company eventually goes public, or when banks start settling large blocks of debt on-chain, remaining shareholders capture a larger slice of any upside. Critically, the buyback happens just months before the U.S. stablecoin and market structure bills reach final votes. If Congress passes those measures, Ripple's new stablecoin and on-ledger payment products can scale inside a fully legal environment. Layer on a potential spot ETF cycle that already includes Bitcoin and Ethereum filings from Donald Trump's True Social venture, and you can see why Ripple wants as much equity in-house as possible before valuations reset. None of this is a guarantee of immediate price appreciation, but it is a concrete vote of confidence from the people with the deepest insight into Ripple's pipeline. When founders deploy hundreds of millions to repurchase shares, retail investors should ask themselves why. The simplest answer is often the right one. The company believes its technology is about to solve a trillion-dollar problem faster than the market realizes. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update that could move your portfolio. Like the video if you value analysis that goes beyond surface-level headlines, and drop hashtag XRP in the comments so the algorithm knows the community is engaged. And don't forget, Bitbabo is still handing out 20 euros for free. Create and verify your account with the link below, and the bonus is yours to invest or withdraw. Free capital is the best kind of capital, especially in a market that rewards flexibility. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep your eyes on fundamentals. Ripple is buying its own future. The only question is whether the rest of the market will keep up.